Somehow, Jussie Smollett is back in the news with 3 different stories, all affecting him and what's going on around him. I gotta say, it's pretty surprising. But now we're learning a few things. The prosecutor in the case who dropped the charges against Smollett has just lawyered up. They are coming after Kim Foxx, it would seem. And a judge ordered Google to turn over a full year of data on Jussie Smollett that is sweeping and insane. They're gonna get his search history. There's also news that Jussie Smollett's not coming back to the last season of Empire. Good riddance, I suppose. But let's stop for a second. I gotta read through these stories and talk about what's going on. But for those that are unfamiliar, because it's been a year, Jussie Smollett is the dude who claimed that he was out for a Subway sandwich at like 2 a.m. and 2 MAGA guys in MAGA hats or something, maybe not MAGA hats, I don't know, yelled it's MAGA country, put a rope around his neck like a thin like clothesline, poured bleach from a hot sauce thing on him, and then, punched him or something and ran off, and then he yelled, and then he, went back and called the police, and it turns out it was all fake news. It was most likely a hoax. Now, I say most likely because there's still an ongoing, legal investigation into what he did. But yeah, he was charged, and then ultimately charges were dropped by this woman, Kim Foxx. There is now a special investigation, and the prosecutor who dropped the charges has lawyered up. This is big. So let's talk about this news, and I want to talk about, there was actually a story just last month, in Washington Post about there's a lot of hate crime hoaxes, man, and we got to talk about it. But let's get started with the news about Jussie, because I'm sure you're so interested to know why the state's attorney had to hire a high-powered lawyer from Washington, D.C. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. But more importantly, I have a new show coming. It's going to be general interest over at youtube.com/timcastirl. Make sure you subscribe or whatever. I'm going to start cranking out a ton of segments on a variety of stories from science, general news, things that don't really affect your life but are interesting nonetheless. I think, what I reserve for this channel is like high-level politics and culture. My second channel is typically like bigger stories that have an impact on culture. And then this channel is going to be like, I don't know, just these weird local stories that are funny and silly, and we'll talk about it. But let's get back to the news. Chicago Tribune reporting, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx hires outside legal help in Jussie Smollett probe, won't say how much it's costing taxpayers. That's right, when your state prosecutor lets a criminal off the hook and then gets investigated for it, they're going to take your money to pay their legal defense. Isn't that great? Apparently. But I think she may have said, to be fair, that it's private, but we'll see what happens. Tribune says, with election season in high gear, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx and her office have retained some high-powered legal assistance in the ongoing probe of Fox's controversial handling of the Jussie Smollett case. Ruben Castillo, or is it Castillo? I don't know, whatever. The former chief judge in the Northern District of Illinois and now a partner at the politically connected law firm Ackerman, has been helping the state's attorney's office for the past 3 months to vet voluminous material requested by the state prosecutor, Dan Webb. In addition, Foxx has brought in well-known Washington, D.C. attorney Michael Bromwich to represent her personally in the Smollett matter, which has become a flashpoint in the Democratic primary. Castillo said in a telephone interview Wednesday that his team was retained by the state's attorney's office in October to handle requests from Webb, who was appointed as special prosecutor last year by Cook County Judge Michael Tuman. Like any other entity, the state's attorney's office needed representation because of the breadth and scope of Judge Tuman's order that really authorized Webb to look at anything and everything. And just wait, I'm not done. They're getting all his Google data. Everything Jussie Smollett Googled. So if he Googled, twine, rope, bleach, whatever, it's all coming out. This is huge and scary, I gotta be honest. I'm gonna throw a little defense towards this Smollett guy. You might get mad, but I gotta push back on this Google stuff, man. This is creepy. But let's get back to the why is Foxx hiring high-powered, politically connected attorneys? They say Castillo, who worked for Webb as a young prosecutor in the 80s when Webb was the U.S. attorney, confirmed to the Tribune that his firm has been billing the county a deeply discounted hourly rate of $250 to $375 for its work on the Smollett case, which she said is less than half what his firm typically charges. And there it is. Bravo. When your prosecutor basically, in my opinion, breaks the law acts corruptly to get a friend off the hook through political connections, rest assured they're going to spend your money from the taxpayer pool to cover their legal expenses. Isn't that great? Don't we live in an awesome country? I love these people. This is why I don't live in Chicago anymore, mind you. Asked why the firm took the case, Castillo said, out of a spirit of public service. Oh, please. I can tell you that no one is making big money here. No, but it's certainly costing the taxpayer a ton of money. He would not venture a guess at how many hours have been put in so far, but said he hoped his role would wrap up as soon as possible. The payments would have to be approved by the Cook County Board of Commissioners. Okay, so, A spokeswoman for Foxx also would not disclose how much Castillo's firm was being paid, but said it was not unusual for the office to retain outside legal counsel, particularly in complex civil cases. Bromwich of Steptoe and Johnson is a former Inspector General for the U.S. Department of Justice, best known for representing Christine Blasey Ford during the Brett Kavanaugh nomination hearings for the U.S. Supreme Court last fall. And there we go. It all comes full circle, doesn't it? There's a conspiracy theory that Jussie Smollett pulled this off to try and bolster Kamala Harris's, and Cory Booker, and a bunch of people were pushing this anti-lynching bill. I don't care for conspiracies. I'm mentioning it because of the Democratic connection with Brett Kavanaugh and Blasey Ford. But, I think it's important to say those things are bad ideas. And I would argue it is not to push the idea, but to attract it for those that actually, think that. Calm down, let the investigation do its course, support the investigation, and we'll find out what we can find out. But speculating on this kind of stuff is a bad waste of time. And even by me just mentioning this and asking you to please calm down, they will try and smear me over it, because that's what they did last time. Tim's pushing conspiracy theories. No, I'm doing the opposite, you lunatics. Anyway, let's read. A spokeswoman for Fox's campaign said Wednesday that Foxx had personally retained Bromwich because that's what smart lawyers do when they're involved in complex litigation. I mean, that to be fair, yeah. If you got the money, hire the big guns. But officials would not say how much Bromwich was being paid. Neither the taxpayers nor her campaign are paying for Mrs. Fox's personal legal representation. Bromwich was unavailable for comment on Wednesday. Fox's team declined to make her available for an interview. The hiring of Castillo and Bromwich was first reported Tuesday by Crain's Chicago Business. Foxx is facing 3 Democratic opponents in the March primary. I'm not going to read through who these are. And then there's 2 Republicans running for the position. Get rid of Foxx, okay? I don't live in Chicago anymore, and this is partly why it is a crooked and corrupt place, okay? You can vote these people out. Please do so. They say although Foxx has made criminal justice reform and the use of restorative justice practices her focus as a way of offering relief to African Americans and Latinos who have been historically overrepresented in the courts, jails, and prisons, her handling of the Smollett case is what has drawn national attention and continues to fuel criticism and calls for her to be replaced. Yes, it's not about any of that. It's about her being corrupt. This is her friend. She was getting her friend off the hook. The actor allegedly staged a hate crime and was accused of hiring 2 men to pretend to assault him while using racist and homophobic slurs and shouting that he was in MAGA country. I love the MAGA country meme now because it's like, it's MAGA country. Like, nobody said that before this hoax. There's no roving band of Trump supporters hooting and hollering and spinning around lassos, screeching that we're in MAGA country. In fact, I'll tell you this. Most Trump supporters and conservatives don't go out for political events. They go to Trump rallies, but they wait in line, and they're it's very orderly and rather boring. They don't go around marching through the streets, with MAGA hats on, screaming about MAGA country. It just doesn't happen. Aside from the Proud Boys holding their marches and rallies, I suppose. And that's actually a new thing. One of the first times I covered an actual Proud Boy event, I was surprised because I had never seen conservatives march like this before. So the idea that at 2 a.m. in the freezing cold dead of night of Chicago, there's MAGA hat wearing dudes marching around. You just happen to have a noose and a Tabasco bottle full of bleach shouting about MAGA country. I'm sorry, man. If you think that's true, I got a bridge to sell you. But more importantly, if it is true, I'm going to go buy myself a lottery ticket. I'm going to buy myself 10. Okay? Nobody believes it. And so when it came time to prosecute Smollett because the cops were like, we think he did this, she gets him off the hook. Now she's being investigated. Everybody's mad. Look at this. Here's a statement. They got, who's this Conway guy? Her handling of the case drew outrage from Rahm Emanuel and Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson, and is currently under investigation. The move also rallied Fox's detractors, who say it is evidence that she's soft on crime. They say on Wednesday, Conway said taxpayers shouldn't have to foot the bill for Fox's office's legal defense. I agree. Kim Foxx gave a politically connected celebrity a sweetheart deal. Hiring a high-powered criminal defense attorney will never erase that stain. Now she's forcing the county to cover the costs of defending her two-tiered system of justice without even disclosing how much Chicagoans will end up paying. It's not right to stick taxpayers to the bill for this high-priced legal team to come up with the excuses for the inexcusable as she runs for re-election. And let me stress, I'm gonna jump. This is a long story, okay? I'm gonna jump now to Jussie Smollett having his data seized, basically. But let me tell you, the ivory tower knows no color. The privilege argument is an excuse from high-powered, politically connected individuals to force poor people to fight against each other. Kim Foxx and Smollett are powerful, wealthy, politically connected individuals, and he was going to get away with it. She was going to get him off the hook, okay? Meanwhile, down below at the base of the ivory tower, the peasants are revolting, and up top, the highest echelon of this tower, they know no race. It's all a scam. They're going to claim, oh, poor Jussie Smollett is being oppressed. I'm sure with his millions of dollars, he's being oppressed. With his political connections to Kamala Harris and the Obamas, and him getting his charges dropped, and now he's free to go, basically, for the most part. I'm sure that's poor, underprivileged, and oppressed minority Jussie Smollett. Spare me. I know people on the south side of Chicago of all different races who are treated like dirt, who are living in squalor, and you want to talk to me about privilege. This is why I can't stand these left-wing identitarian types. Now we got this is actually pretty scary. I'm going to be honest with you. A Cook County judge has ordered Google to turn over Jussie Smollett's emails, photos, location data, and private messages for an entire year as part of the special prosecutor's investigation into the purported attack on the actor. That's scary. That's scary, man. Look, I'm not a fan of what Smollett did, accused of doing, but we all think he did it. I'm not a fan of this. But I'm also not a fan of, Google has data on things you don't realize they have data on, right? Facebook knows when you go to the bathroom. Facebook knows where you're going to eat before you do. I'm not exaggerating, man. We've talked about this. People don't realize when it comes to data tracking your existence, there are factors you don't realize are connected. So there used to be these online quizzes. And they would ask, what's your age, what's your race, what's your gender, things like this. And then they would ask you a series of questions. And they found that some of these questions are meaningless. There'd be one where it's like, which do you prefer? And it would be a picture of a giraffe and a picture of a rhinoceros. And for some reason, men would tend to pick one, women would tend to pick another. People over 40 would tend to pick one. And they would ask you these innocuous questions. And at the end, they could accurately predict what demographic you fit in based on very subtle and there would be one where it's like, pick a shape, and it would be like a square, circle, and like a diamond. Sure enough, that question was enough to provide data for them to guess how old you were, what your race was, what part of the country you live in, whether you live in a city or the country. You might not realize, but you are heavily influenced by so many things. This to me is really scary because, to a certain degree, I'd like to see Jussie Smollett brought to justice. But the amount of information that Google has now being, ordered to be given over by the legal system, they're gonna know everything. They're gonna know when Jussie Smollett farts. Okay, I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. It's meant to be purposefully humorous. But there was an article talking about how Facebook can predict when you go to the bathroom. They can predict where you're going to eat based on where you were at what time of the day, where you've gone before. So every time you travel and you got the Messenger app, it knows where you are. Your phone's tracking everything. And so they just create a map. And people don't realize is maybe you sent the word, banana to a friend. Well, Facebook's AI knows that for some reason, people who say banana have a 70% chance of going to the bathroom in an hour. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying it's things like that. You would be like, how does that even make sense? How's that related? For some reason it is. There's weird stuff we can't predict. So this is scary stuff. I got to say that. At the same time, I'll tell you this. Look, you're responsible for your data, okay? I don't like the idea of Google knowing everything, but you can also use browsers like Brave. You can use DuckDuckGo, which I use, half the time. For personal stuff, I'll more so use DuckDuckGo. They don't supposedly aren't tracking a lot of your data. But you can use VPNs and you can protect yourself. But let's read and see, because this is going to be devastating, man. The court's going to know every moment. Listen, Google data includes if he has an Android device or if he has Google Maps, they know where he walks to. They're going to be able to see if he came to the scene of so the police allege they saw him on camera coming there and scoping out the area where he was going to stage this event. Google's going to have the data if he brought his phone with him. He called an Uber, right? That's what they claim. Yeah, that data is going to prove everything. I say this. 2 sweeping search warrants obtained by the Chicago Tribune provide the first public glimpse of the direction of the probe by Special Prosecutor Dan Webb more than 4 months into the investigation. The warrants filed last month in circuit court sought a trove of documentation from Smollett and his manager's Google accounts, not just emails, but also drafted and deleted messages, any files in their Google Drive cloud storages, any Google Voice texts, calls, and contacts, search and web browsing history, and location data. They got everything. They are going to have a dossier on Smollett and every action he's taken, everything he said, every email he sent. He could have Google searched where to buy rope. Boom! They got him. That's it, man. Welcome to the future of the panopticon, okay? It's not going to be someone filming you do it. It's going to be you filming and recording your own actions indefinitely, and they're going to have it. That's a scary, scary future, man. Look, I don't like this Smollett guy, but I'm warning all of you right now. If they use this power, and they are, and it's hard to argue against, it really is, because Smollett, he did something wrong, but I'm terrified of that precedent, seriously. I might want to see Smollett brought to justice for staging this hoax and pushing this insanity, but I'm more terrified of what this means for the future. I guess the only thing I can really say is you're responsible for yourself. Protect your data, seriously. Investigators sought a full year's data from November 2018 to November 2019, even though the key events of the controversy took place between late January and late March. Authorities could be looking for any incriminating remarks from Smollett or his manager, especially in the months after State's Attorney Kim Foxx's office abruptly dismissed disorderly conduct charges against the then Empire actor just weeks after his indictment. Smollett, who is African-American and openly gay, has declared the dismissal a vindication of his claims that he was the victim, of a racist and homophobic attack. The mysterious reversal by Foxx's office coming after Foxx herself stepped aside from overseeing the prosecution. Full stop, lie, not true. She did not step aside, okay? Those are weasel words. I'm sorry, Tribune, you're usually good at this. But she was called out because if it was a true recusal, she would have surrendered everything immediately. Instead, what she did was she personally was like, oh, just don't talk to me about it, and had her staff keep moving forward. That is not a recusal. That is not stepping aside. Sorry, not true. An outside office should have come in. Now there is a special prosecutor. They say it sparked a public outcry that ultimately led to Judge Michael Tuman to appoint Webb as special prosecutor in late August. Tuman signed off on the search warrants on December 6th, the records show. In doing so, the judge ordered Google and its representatives, agents, and employees not to disclose his order to turn over the records, saying to do so may jeopardize an ongoing criminal investigation. It was unclear from the file if Google has handed over the data on Smollett and his manager. A Google spokesman said he could not comment on specific requests for records from law enforcement. Tuman gave Webb a broad mandate to investigate all aspects of the case, not only its initial handling by Foxx's office, but also whether to criminally charge Smollett again. The search warrants make clear that Chicago police are assisting in Webb's investigation. Anthony Guglielmi, a Chicago police spokesman, confirmed the department is working with special prosecutor conducting follow-ups on its initial investigation, but Guglielmi declined further comment, referring inquiries to Webb's team. Webb declined to comment on the search warrants or his broader investigation. Smollett's attorney did not immediately return messages seeking comment, so we get it. They now go into rehashing and explaining the context around Jussie Smollett. I'm going to tell you this right now. With that Google data, Smollett's going down. That's it. I'm sorry, man. You don't understand. I'm not exaggerating when I say that this data is going to spell out every moment of his life. You're going to be able to create like a psych profile on this guy. All right. What do you Google search? When you wake up in the morning, you go to the shower, you're looking at all that weird, creepy stuff. I know what you guys are doing. Yeah, a lot of people search for stuff and they don't realize, even in incognito mode, to certain degrees, your ISP, this data's here, man. They know everything about you. They're going to know every sick predilection of this here Jussie Smollett. They're going to know what he was thinking, why he was thinking it. They're going to see his communications. They're going to see what he was Google searching. Hate crime laws, hoaxes, criminal charges, potential, if he gets convicted. They're going to see it all. They're going to see him Google searching hardware stores. And they're going to see, the two brothers, whatever their names are, Abima Bowler, I can't remember the guy's name. And they're going to see it all. They're going to be able to create a pattern showing from when he got the idea all the way to when it was executed. Now, there is still a couple more little bits I want to highlight. First of all, this one's not so important, but Jussie Smollett will not return to Empire finale. Fox exec says, I can't believe they were considering it. Are you nuts? Yep. Apparently, they were considering bringing back Jussie Smollett for the Empire finale. Well, he ruined the show. Apparently, people liked the show. And that's his fault. They should be mad at him for it. And apparently a lot of them are. I can't believe they're actually going to try and bring it back. But now here's what I want to do. I want to wrap up with this final thought. This is a story from the Washington Post about hoaxes from December 5th. And they mention two individuals with wildly different numbers. And this is how the game is played. This is how the left defends the fake news. Let me show you. They say this: Riley estimates that as much as 15% of the hate crimes reported to the FBI are falsified. Another researcher who has closely examined the subject, Brian Levin of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University in San Bernardino, puts the hoax rate much lower, at less than half of 1%. What accounts for the difference? Levin and Riley diverge on what should be classified as a hoax. Levin, a criminologist, counts hate crimes that are reported to authorities, such as the police or college campus officials, and later are shown to be deliberately falsified, meaning the ones we've proven. Riley casts a wider net, including in his database various non-criminal incidents that initially generated speculation about hateful motives. He counted cases where there was no hoaxer, such as the toppling of tombstones in a Jewish cemetery outside Philadelphia because of age and recent landscaping, or the discovery of a noose on a DC construction site that police determined was merely a rope used to move equipment. He said his 15% figure is an estimate based on extrapolating from the dozens of hoaxes he has identified per year and inferring that many less publicized hate crimes must also be hoaxes that were never revealed. So I think it's fair to point out speculation, a bit tough. But I also think it's fair to point out that while the criminologist says half of 1%, he's taking a very studious, stringent, and academic approach to the story that I don't believe is fair. I think it's fair to say that if the media starts claiming people are toppling Jewish tombstones and they ignore all the other tombstones that fall due to age and erosion and rain, yeah, the media is putting out fake news and scaring people into believing these things are real. It's really important to track stories like outside of the what is proven to be false. More importantly, we need to look at what's not, what the FBI can prove to be false is going to be rare. Okay, we need to look at things that we can discern to be likely untrue and give an estimate, because otherwise what we're really saying is, if it's only things being reported to the police, are we going to ignore every single instance in the media where someone says I didn't want to report it? Or every viral story where no one reported it? No, that's stupid. Of course they'll include those stories. And then what about the ones where we pretty much figure out it's false, but Jussie Smollett's case was never proven false, so it probably doesn't fall in that database, but everybody believes that he faked it. So right now there's no proof he faked it, because the criminal justice system doesn't prove if someone faked it. They convict if someone is guilty or not. It's not the job of law enforcement to prove innocence. And it is rare that they're going to actually prove whether or not someone made up a story. They can accuse them of it, but how do you prove it? Thus, the official academic number, well, of course it'll be low. Anyway, I'll wrap it up there. I can't believe I'm talking about Jussie Smollett. It's been a year, but you know what? I got to admit, I'm looking forward to this guy getting getting what's coming to him. You know, and everybody believes he did this. Okay, he staged this. He was indicted for it, and he got let off the hook. Nah, BS. And he's claiming he was vindicated. I want to see Foxx. I want to see Smollett. I want to see them brought to justice. But you know what? They're well connected. So we'll see. Thanks for hanging out. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews. It's my second channel, and I will see you all there.